Hot squall. Good day, everybody. I'm Swachton. Swachton's my ancestral name. Wilson Williams is my English name. I'll be a hybrid of a traditional speaker for you this morning and your master of ceremonies. It's an honor to be here with our people, our families, our delegates, our guests. So hopefully you won't get too tired of hearing me this morning, but it's a pleasure to see you all and be amongst you on this beautiful morning. Before we formally get started, on behalf of the Squamish Nation, or xwumixw, we send our condolences, our love, strength, and prayers to the James Smith Reservation of Saskatchewan, the lives that were lost in the tragic event that occurred. We want to hold our families up, give them strength, and send nothing but love to them on this journey. We want to provide that medicine. Through our teachings and traditions, we want to share a prayer song, the xwumixw prayer song, just calling forward our drummers and any of our xwumixw people to join them in a short prayer song. Osia. Just asking everybody to stand and out of respect, thank you. Thank you to our drummers and singers for grounding us through ceremony and song. We not only get our feet back through dancing, but we get grounded through the medicine it provides. And thanking our drummers and singers once again for such a beautiful song. At this time, I thank you for your patience. We're just going to start and begin our cultural work and the ceremony this morning. So the work you'll see today is xwumixw traditional work. The blankets you see and the headbands, the blankets will be covering the hearts of some of our family that are doing the work. The headbands protect our thoughts and our mind through the work. So at this time, we're beginning the cultural work, Osiam. Just calling the family forward. We reference our family in the long ago and continue to today. Usually when families stand up and have works in mind, whether it's a naming ceremony, memorial, or some special work, just as in today, groundbreaking work for a historic development in our Senakw village. So the family here is the family that had the work in mind that is going to be conducted today in front of you, and thanking you all as witnesses. Osiam. Hands go up to our family for the honor for asking me to be a speaker on behalf of the family. And I'll acknowledge a little bit of what's taking place and elaborate on what I shared earlier. The pinning and the recognition is just what we call chin chin stwai, holding each other up. And also 50 cents was placed in what we call our quarter bag in today's context is part of that chin chin stwai. So thanking our family for upholding our teachings, our chiach, our snawayat in today's context. And I have to acknowledge again, it's not just an honor to be here in front of you, to be a part of this work in this place, in this specific time. It's for the generations ahead. We're keeping this tradition in our culture alive. So thank you. And thank you all once again for being here. Like I said, I don't want to offend anybody. This is not the first time I've done a hybrid where I'm the speaker and MC at the same time. But just thanking you all. You are all witnesses today to this historic work that is taking place. Welcome to Senakw. Welcome to Senakw xwumixw of the Squamish xwumixw. I say that with the best heartbeat that I can give today. I need a round of applause because historically today is beautiful, and I'm with you and our family. We thank you. So Senakw is the place inside the head of Falls Creek, just to my right. A place where our families lived, thrived off the land, and was a meeting place for many ceremonies, a place of gathering. This groundbreaking event highlights the start of the project, along with the contributions of the federal government that is made through a CMHC loan guarantee. This is the largest Indigenous-led housing retail development in the history of Canada. Before I introduce the delegates, I'll be formally calling and recognizing individuals as witnesses. They will become the voice to share verbally and documented what they have witnessed. Our family will be welcoming these witnesses and thanking them for this important role. I would now like to call upon xwumixw. xwumixw, the family has called you to be a witness to the work today. Johnny Williams, the family has asked you to be a witness for the work today. Let's see. Honourable Patty Hadu, Minister of Indigenous Services. The family has asked you to be a witness today. Honourable Mark Miller, Minister of Crown Indigenous Relations. The family has asked you to be a witness to the work today. Honourable Jonathan Wilkinson, Minister of Natural Resources. The family has asked you to be a witness today. David Eby, MLA for Vancouver Point Grey. The family has asked you to be a witness to the work today. Ian Gillespie of West Bank, the family has asked you to be a witness today. Thanking you all. Specifically for today's special traditional work. Just to enlighten you, the family has requested to have 4 speakers to share some words on the work they have witnessed. This is to ensure this special occasion is remembered. The 50 cents references a token. This is every time I look at a quarter now, I think of all the work I've seen in my life, and it's an honor. I used to think of quarters as going to the arcade, but not no more. Again, I want to acknowledge and thank my council colleagues, our team here, our teams from Inchikai and the Squamish Admin, for holding not only us holding you up, you're holding us up as well. It's chin chin stwai. I'll say that a few times so people will leave with the traditional word of empowerment. Each one of you has grounded us, as I said, and helped us on good footing for the work that is going to take place. It is my privilege to be joined alongside our nation's council chairperson, Kitsilano, and from the Government of Canada, the Honourable Justin Trudeau, our Prime Minister of Canada, the Honourable Ahmed Hussein, Minister of Housing, Diversity and Inclusion, and Member of Parliament for Vancouver Centre, the Honourable Dr. Hedy Fry. We are standing here today in Senakw. Since time immemorial, Senakw has been very important to the Squamish people. It was an important cultural, social, and trading hub. Our people hunted elk and deer off the land, fished, and collected medicines from the surrounding forest. While we were displaced, we fought hard to reclaim Senakw, and now it will once again provide for our people and for the future of the Squamish peoples. We thank the Government of Canada for engaging in this new partnership with us as we move forward to building development that will provide a legacy for generations for not only Squamish, but for Vancouver and Canada. In a few moments, we'll break ground here in our traditional ways, but before we do, I want to invite our partners in the federal government to share a few words. And please do so on the mic to my left. I'd like to invite up the Honourable Member of Parliament, Dr. Hetty Fry, to share a few words.
Good morning, everyone. I am actually honored and acknowledged that I am on the unceded territory of the Squamish people, and of course in the whole territory of the Musqueam and the Tsleil-Waututh. But today, the Senakw project is a really important one. And I am so pleased and proud to see it happen here, where, as you've heard this morning, this is where all of the Indigenous communities and the tribes used to gather for all sorts of potlatches, ceremonies, etc. So this is a really important place for it to happen. And what is important about this project is that the people here who are building Senakw, they are actually not wanting to just be landlords. They want to be active participants and partners in ensuring the land is actually used appropriately, and they want to be partners in the investment and the building of the land. They are ready to begin development this year, if it is at all possible. And in fact, what is going to be exciting is that there's going to be a Coast Salish design to the project, and that is really going to be important. It's going to leave a lasting legacy. But what is even more important, and I think West Bank is proud to obviously be part of this, it would be that it would be the first large-scale net zero carbon development in Canada. And this is important as we look at issues like climate change. Now, before I begin, with respect and gratitude, I want to acknowledge again that we gather here on the traditional unceded territory of the Squamish First Nation. This is a historic day, and as Member of Parliament of Vancouver Centre, I'm honored to be part of this. Here in Vancouver, but even more importantly in Vancouver Centre, housing is an issue that affects all of us and can only be addressed through innovative collaboration, just like we're seeing here today, with partners. The project and the collaborative approach that we are taking towards community building with our First Nations partners is something that I'm sure many Indigenous groups will want to emulate. The Senakw project is a long-term investment, and Vancouver is the latest example of our government's commitment to meaningful reconciliation and building partnerships with Indigenous governments and with communities. Ce projet est l'approche de collaboration que nous adoptons en vue de bâtir des collectifs avec nos partenaires des Premières Nations sont, j'en suis sûr, quelque chose que de nombreux autres groupes autochtones partout au pays surveillent de très près. I wanted to, again, be glad and honored to be here today. And whether we're creating new homes, whether we're building inclusive communities, I am pleased that our Prime Minister and Minister Hussein could be here today to show their support for something that is an inherent priority for our government. Looking at everyone who's here today, it's clear to me that reconciliation remains a priority for our governments. And I look forward to the results of what we're going to build together with Indigenous communities. And before I hand it over to Minister Hussein, I want to take a moment to thank him for being such a tireless and fearless advocate for housing. Every time I hear that Ahmed Hussein is coming into town, I know it's going to be some kind of housing announcement. He has been a fighter. He has been there. He has been an advocate and a collaborator. And his dedication to ensuring that all Canadians have a safe place to call home really speaks to the care and commitment our government has to support people from coast to coast to coast. And it's great to have you back in our community, Ahmed. With that, I would like to invite you up to the podium. The floor is yours. Ocean.
Thank you so much, Dr. MP Fry, Hedy, you've been a friend and a champion for affordable housing for not only the people of Vancouver East, but right across Canada. Hello, everyone, and good morning. Bonjour à tous. Before I go any further, I really just wanted to take a quick moment to recognize the horrific news that we've all been following from Saskatchewan. And I can only imagine the immense loss and pain that the communities and families of the victims feel right now. And I'm sure you'll join me in sending our heartfelt condolences to all those who've been affected by this senseless tragedy. And I also want to send my sincere gratitude to all the first responders who are doing everything that they can to keep everyone safe as this situation unfolds. Today, as has been described, is a very important day for the people here in this community, and I really want to thank Chairperson Kitsilano and Spokesperson Senakw and Council and Spokesperson Senakw for the warm welcome. It is a privilege to be here with you, Prime Minister, and members of our team, Ministers Miller, Haiju, and Wilkinson. And I want to say how humbled I am to be back on the traditional lands of the Squamish First Nations people. In February, we gathered at a spot just across the Lions Gate Bridge, where, together with the Hyam Housing Society, we announced an investment to create over 80 housing units for members of the Squamish First Nation. And there, Councillor, you talked about how important that project is to the community. You talked about how members of the Squamish First Nation wanted to come home, and how that new development was going to help folks not only with their housing needs, but to allow them space to heal and take care of one another. This underlines one important fact, that a home is extremely important and critical to the social health and well-being of everyone in our community and in our country. And today, in partnership with the Squamish First Nation, we're proving just how vital it is to have a home with this historic announcement. Je vois de mes propres yeux comment l'accès à un logement sécuritaire et la stabilité qu'il procure son lieu au bien-être. Cet élan positif découle directement de la stratégie nationale du logement, sur le logement et de la raison pour laquelle elle a été conçue. En travaillant en étroite collaboration avec des partenaires de tous les ordres du gouvernement et du secteur du logement, nous sommes en mesure de créer plus d'offres. Reconciliation is the heart of what Senakw is all about. We followed the Buy Indigenous, for Indigenous principle. We worked with Indigenous peoples, leaders, and partners to bring this project to life, and it took time, but we knew that the journey was worth it. The journey down the path of reconciliation continues with projects like this. Projects like this remind us that reconciliation is also reconciliation. But we couldn't have done it without the people who are here today. So I just wanted to take a quick moment to thank everyone. Thank you to the members of the Squamish First Nation for working with us on this really important project, and for your great leadership and your contribution. Thank you to Ministers Miller, Haiju, whose teams were critical to get us to this announcement. And thank you to our municipal, provincial, and housing sector partners for your hard work and crucial role for this development. In particular, I want to thank my friend, David Eby, for everything that you've done to get us to today. And thank you, Prime Minister, for your leadership and your continued and sincere push for reconciliation to move forward. On that note, it is my pleasure to invite the Right Honourable Justin Trudeau to the podium to make this really important announcement. Monsieur le Premier Ministre.
Thank you, Ahmed, for your words and for your incredibly hard work across the country, including here in the Lower Mainland. Thank you, Hedy, for your words and for your leadership through many years in this community and across the country. Kitsilano, thank you for your welcome today. Wilson, xwumixw, thank you. Spokesperson and Senakw, thank you so much for being here. Council members, thank you for having us here today with you. Je tiens tout d'abord à souligner que nous sommes réunis ici sur le territoire traditionnel non cédé de la nation Squamish. Of course, before I begin, I want to say that we're still monitoring the situation in Saskatchewan. It's important that everyone continue to follow the instructions from local authorities. The federal government is working closely with the community leadership and with the province. We need to make sure that everyone stays safe, that we resolve this as quickly as possible. I spoke with chiefs a couple of days ago. I spoke with, yesterday, I spoke with the Premier. We're going to continue to be there while people grieve, while people heal, but right now, while they are also very fearful. All Canadians stand with people of Saskatchewan at this time. Of course, today, it is so good to be back home in BC, a place that has always meant so much to me. I have so many good memories of my time here. The number of times I've crossed this bridge without realizing the gem and the opportunity that we're about to be launching today. I know this is something that is going to have a huge positive impact on so many levels, and being able to be here today to be part of this announcement is truly a highlight for me. This positive announcement that the Squamish Nation will have a real impact on the people who live in Vancouver, because everyone should have a safe and affordable place to call home. When I speak with Canadians across the country, housing availability and pricing remain one of the primary concerns. Alors, si on veut créer du logement plus abordable au Canada, il faut augmenter l'offre de logement. To increase housing supply, our government has laid out a multi-layered plan to double our housing construction over the next decade. With the Housing Accelerator Fund, we'll incentivize municipalities to remove barriers and build housing more quickly. With the Affordable Housing Innovation Fund, we're investing to encourage people to think outside the box as they come up with projects that will change the housing industry, like a number of rent-to-own projects that we're moving forward on. And of course, with the Rapid Housing Initiative, we're building new affordable units extremely quickly and converting existing buildings to create housing for vulnerable populations that need them now, not a few years from now. These are only a few examples, and of course there's much more work to be done. What gathers us here today is yet another stream of work this government has set up, which is the Rental Construction Financing Initiative, which is designed to accelerate and incentivize the creation of mid-market rental housing to take the edge off of the supply challenges that so many people are facing as they're trying to get into the market. Particularly for renters here in Vancouver, it's tough to find a place. The rental market vacancy rate is very low. We need to work together to provide more housing options for people, and that's what brings us here today. Through the RCFI, we'll provide a loan to build close to 3,000 homes as part of the Senakw project here in Kitsilano, in collaboration with the Squamish Nation. Les travaux de construction ont déjà commencé pour le projet Senakw. Son architecture et son style vont laisser un héritage culturel durable à la nation des Squamish et au Canada. This housing building will be on land that has been reclaimed by the Squamish Nation after having been expropriated more than 100 years ago. Senakw will be operated and owned by the Squamish Nation and will welcome members of the community, Indigenous and non-Indigenous. This project is the largest First Nations economic partnership in Canadian history. Initiatives like these are reconciliation in action, and I know that Ministers Miller and Haidu and our whole team agree that it's part of our vision for a better future for everyone. We're also very pleased to say that Senakw aims to be Canada's first large-scale net zero housing development. Le fait qu'un projet d'une telle envergure peut être carboneutre montre que la conception durable n'est pas un luxe, mais la nouvelle norme. C'est un projet qui va servir de modèle pour l'avenir. And I want to thank particularly Minister Wilkinson, who's been working very closely with partners towards this ambitious goal. La priorité de notre gouvernement, c'est de livrer les résultats concrets pour les Canadiens. Today, we're building more homes for Vancouverites. At the same time, we're partnering with the Squamish Nation on its path to continued economic independence and self-determination, and we're designing a green housing that will serve as a blueprint for the future. In other words, when everyone works together to accomplish multiple goals, everybody wins. So I want to again thank members of the Squamish Nation for making this possible. I also want to thank Westbank Court, Ian, good to see you here today, and OP Trust. When we all work together as partners, federal and Indigenous governments, private sector, local communities, we innovate and we find solutions to the challenges we face. Let us continue working together. Let's continue making Canada a better place. Avant de terminer, je veux souligner la nouvelle de ce matin, comme quoi Santé Canada a approuvé la demande d'Emma Québec d'éliminer la période d'exclusion de 3 mois pour tous les hommes ayant des relations sexuelles avec d'autres hommes. Comme la Société canadienne du sang l'avait annoncé en avril, Emma Québec va aussi adopter une approche de sélection des donneurs basée sur le comportement sexuel, indépendamment de l'identité de genre ou de l'orientation sexuelle. En 2015, on avait promis d'en finir avec l'interdiction discriminatoire de donner du sang pour les hommes ayant des relations sexuelles avec d'autres hommes. Depuis, notre gouvernement a investi dans plusieurs projets de recherche pour en arriver à la décision d'aujourd'hui et celle d'avril dernier. C'est un pas de plus dans la bonne direction. Que tous les Canadiens puissent donner du sang de manière sécuritaire, sans discrimination, c'est une bonne nouvelle pour tout le monde. As we work every day to build a better, more inclusive Canada in which every Canadian has a real and fair chance to succeed, partnerships like this, initiatives like this will make a real difference. With that, I'm very happy to pass it over to Kitsilano. Thank you.
Tanoyap Ansequetal, Tanoyap Siam, Seo Huachet, Nesta Ans Hosalem, Chinwet Saitsap, not Squamish Ochomel. Bonjour, je suis Hosalem du Squamish Ochomel. Je ne parle un petit français. Merci beaucoup. In the words of the great philosopher James Brown, I feel good. But I think more importantly, today with this announcement, we all feel really good in our hearts. As a Squamish person, I am very honored to be here. There's a long list of people I'm going to run through to acknowledge today because we, as leaders in the generation that we live in, cannot do the work that we have upon us if it wasn't for the work of the previous generations who did this for us to get to this point. I first want to acknowledge the families who lived and resided here in Senakw. The village that was once here had a number of families who have descendants that are here today with us, descendants that lived here for generations. One of our late leaders who was from this place named xwumixw, he was born in the 1800s, 1820s, and he talked about how his grandfather was born here at Senakw, which would have taken place prior to contact. But the families who resided here at Senakw up until 1913, when they were forcibly removed and evicted from their village and their homes. At the time, there were attitudes and beliefs about Indigenous people that have gone away through time as the heart and compassion that the world has for a people who have experienced significant hardship have come together through the spirit of reconciliation to acknowledge the truth of what has happened in our history, but to also work towards a positive future how do we work towards positive change on behalf of the people that are entrusting us to do that work for them, but also for the next generation. In the same way that our ancestors and our elders were thinking about us, we have to think about the next generation as well. I also want to acknowledge past leaders. I want to acknowledge Paitsmuk, one of our CM, our elders from our community who is here, served on council for many years with my late grandfather, Frank Rivers Sr. And it was the council of the day in the 1970s who had the courage to work with legal counsel to put forward our case around the lands that had been taken illegally from our people by past decisions. And it was through that decision by the council in the 1970s that brought us to 2000 when our people were able to celebrate an out-of-court settlement where we saw the return of the 11.7 acres here at Senakw that we're standing on today, a place that had significant importance for our people, especially the elders who grew up here and lived here during that time. And then I also want to thank all of our people, the Squamish people, who voted overwhelmingly through the land designation process to support the vision of multiple generations of councils. The past council terms, going back 2 terms to this term, our people gave us an overwhelming level of support for the vision that we had put forward for this Senakw development. And just to give a little bit of context of how historic this is for the Squamish Nation, in 1923, when our 16 different Indian bands came together and amalgamated under a single entity, which we called the Squamish Nation, they had amalgamated all of the accounts that were held by the different Indian bands at the time. And when you put all the trust funds that had been gathered, all the financial wealth that had been gathered up at that point, it would today be worth approximately $1.2 million. But the project that we are embarking on with our partners represents an over $10 billion return that is going to come back to the Squamish people through the use of our lands, through sustainable economic development. Wealth that we will generate from our lands to support the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes of the Squamish people, both today and in the future. The hope that every generation, I think in every culture has, that the next generation will have a better life than the one we did. And I raise my hands to my leaders, both past and present, who worked hard to build a better life for myself and people that are alive today like myself, and look forward to build on that legacy for the next generation to come. I also want to thank today our partners with the federal government, the Government of Canada, the ministers that are represented here today. I want to thank each and every one of you for the work that you've done, as well as your predecessors, for helping work with the Squamish Nation to clear those hurdles, to change policy, to establish precedents on what it means for the Government of Canada to partner with the First Nation to deliver on the urgent priorities and needs of the region and of our nation and of many nations. The partnership that we have through CMHC with the Government of Canada represents a historic moment for us to be able to celebrate what it means when we can celebrate the excellence of Indigenous communities and Indigenous people and Indigenous nations. And I want to also just emphasize how important this work is, how important this coming together of governments to work in good faith to establish positive relationships to create positive change. I'm reflecting on one of my community members who had the fortunate opportunity to be gifted a house from a relative who had passed away. And as a result of having a home, was able to raise her children in that home. And as a result of having an affordable, secure home, was able to go to school and get her bachelor's degree and get her master's degree. And that story is something that happens for a number of our people. The success that they're able to generate for themselves and their families as a result of having a home is so profound and impactful. And so when I think about my people, but all people, who are going to benefit from this project, from the rapid pace that the Squamish Nation, through our partnerships, are able to deliver a significant amount of purpose-built rental to the Vancouver market. The ability to work with our partners in the federal government to bring affordable rents to a number of the apartments that we will be building as a part of this project. And the continued work that we do with all governments, whether it be municipal, provincial, or federal, to create more affordability in different ways for Squamish people, for all Indigenous people, and for all Canadians. This is something that I know for our elders who aren't here with us. In 2002, I got the chance to be here with a number of my elders who are no longer with us, and we got to celebrate the return of Senakw. And I know that they are here with us today, smiling at what we've been able to achieve through their work and building on that. And today, I raise my hands to the Government of Canada, to CMHC, to all the people who helped work with the Squamish Nation, with xwumixw, with our partners, to be able to do the work to make this possible. We are achieving something that I know I'm going to be very proud of, and that my council is very proud of, that our leaders are very proud of. But we're very proud to work with you. We're very proud to make a difference in this world and in this city that we hold so dear in our hearts. So I raise my hands again to past leaders and current, and also to our staff. There is a number of staff from the Squamish Nation and from xwumixw Development Corporation. You know, we as politicians get to stand on the podium and get to be in the photos, but I really must acknowledge the employees of our governments, of our entities, our corporations, and the love and care, the attention that they put into this work to make it happen. And it's a team effort, as my colleague xwumixw mentioned, that we're holding each other up. So I raise my hands to each and every one of you. I raise my hands to the Prime Minister, the ministers here today, all of the people here gathered for this historic announcement to partner together on the development of Senakw. I raise my hands to each and every one of you and thank you. Osiam.
Thanking all our speakers for your eloquency and how far we've come. I really hold my hands up to all of you. Kitsilano, thank you very much. I'd like to recognize our elders that are with us today. I'd like to acknowledge our xwumixw team for being here. Some of our administration from the nation, our honorable guests, our partner West Bank, Ian and his team, and our families that had joined us earlier through a Facebook Live feed we did to ensure, even though this event is private, that we are walking with our people and sharing in the event today. As we move forward, we're going to continue with some of the traditional work that is going to take place. I would like to acknowledge my sister, Liz Ross, who's our floor manager for the work today. So what you're going to see take place some of my brothers who are going to come forward. We recognize, and we're going to recognize our 4 pillars. What you'll see is a tool we reference as Skach. Sisiam, our brother, is going to share and partially dig what we can in this hard ground. There's going to be a token, what we used to use and reference as a silver dollar. I'll elaborate more when we get there. But we're going to take a few minutes to bring the drummers up and begin the ceremony. Thank you. Just calling the family forward. I hear quarters jingling. Just calling our drummers and our family here who are going to conduct the work. Sisiam, Chinachtan, Kitsilano, Siam. Along with Sisiam, who will be leading the work, Chinachtan, xwumixw, and Kitsilano Siam. We have direct descendants of Senakw being a part of our work today. Part of the ceremony, they'll be performing a traditional song. Thank you to the family once again. Our hands go up to you. At this time, I would like to call forward our Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and Chairperson of Squamish Nation, Kitsilano, to join us as part of the ceremony for the groundbreaking event.
Speaking on behalf of Sisiam here, comes from the village of Kwai, holds that Sayam, that hereditary chieftainship of Stanley Park. Want to explain that what you're about to see is the ways his great-grandparents, Kapult, Tsamt, their English names, Andy Neutral and Moses Anton, comes from a long line of longhouse builders. It was a profession of our people. Only certain people had the gift to build our sacred houses, to handle the spirit of the house. What you're about to see is many generations of Snawayas, our teachings coming down here today to start the work, as our people have started the work, this kind of work, for many thousands of years. It's the same way that the family, Sisiam here, is going to start this work here today. A little explanation of the work you're about to see here. Osiam.
okay to take pictures and recordings at this time as well? You're okay? about tomorrow. I thank you for the sacredness of the work. Thanking my dear brothers. Once again, part of our cultural work, I was directly speaking at them for stepping forward and conducting such sacred work with us this morning. Thank you, Prime Minister, Chairperson, for joining us in that ceremony. Just to add to some context to the work you witnessed, Sisiam, like xwumixw acknowledged, learned how to become a master carver with his great-grandfathers graciously carved this digging tool, which you've seen, which is now covered up. The design depicts a thunderbird, a supernatural creature that brought down spiritual gifts from the Creator to our people. Historically, we use this tool to dig holes for house posts, which provide structural support for the longhouses, and to dig up clams along our shorelines. When we broke ground, they provided the offering to our ancestors by putting silver coins into the sacred Senakw ground. In return, we asked them to watch over and protect the Senakw village and development until it's complete. To symbolize the silver coins, which weren't put in the ground today, we are gifting them this morning. Xwumixw, the family has an offering and gift to you. Osia. Johnny Williams, dear cousin, you will be gifted the silver coin. Kitsilano, the family, our team has it in their mind to gift you. Osia. Justin Trudeau, the family has it in their hearts to gift you. Prior to silver coins being put in the ground, there was other monetary or strong symbolic tokens that were put in the ground prior to our master carvers building either longhouses or structures or homes for our people. Before we conclude, the family has 4 speakers in mind that they'd like to hear from as witnesses. As I mentioned them, thank you, family. It'll be in the order of acknowledgement as we go through. The only day I'll be grateful for the bridge because of the shade today. I had to acknowledge that. Patesmuck, the family has it in their heart. Be acknowledged as our first speaker. Aiden Baker, the family has it in their heart to share a few words in witnessing the work today. Honorable Patty Hadju, Minister of Indigenous Services, the family has it in their heart to share some words on the work today. David Eby, our MLA for Vancouver Point Grey, the family has it in our heart. You'll be our fourth speaker this morning. I'll hand the floor over to our speakers and our witnesses.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for the invitation to come up and say a few words. Mr. Trudeau, family, guests, thank you for being here. Although I can only walk in the shadows of our families who lived here, they might not be here in body, but they are here in our hearts because their blood runs in my blood, in my veins. I can only say that because listening to the old people that were moved from here to another village. Kitsilano was my great-grandfather. I listened to him as a youngster telling the stories and the history of this place. Senakw, the village, and over there, the place we call xwumixw. They call it Vancouver today. Xwumixw was another place our people lived. And the history of this beautiful city must recognize the first people of this land. And we must begin by teaching not only our Squamish children, but all children. So we can share this city, share this country, share this world together in peace and enjoyment. This is what I've heard from my grandfather. He never used to bawl me out or raise any fingers to me, but he would tell me my mistake. This was a mistake. Don't do it again. In our language, xwumixw, that is the teaching of our family and our people. So we will share this. And Salem had said earlier that this work, this project, this development is going to benefit the Squamish people in our health care, our education care, our housing, and especially the needs of our elderly. Has been mentioned that we need more home care for our elderly. Yes, we do. So I feel grateful to be called as a witness because thoughts have always gone through my mind that I have to share with everyone, because we breathe the same air, we drink the same water, we're people. We must treat each other with grace. I want to thank you for calling my name to come up and say a few words. Again, I thank each and every one of you for being here, celebrating this wonderful day, this wonderful project. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Hosea.
Kumantomia, Hatsqual Tanoya, Aiden Queensna, Tinachin Kla, Homochasin Okumeo, Armanotsin Squalwin, Elktansequatos. Hello everyone, my name is Aiden Baker and I come from the village of Homochasin, which is formerly known as Kitsilano Reservation, just on the other side of Lionsgate Bridge. Born and raised over here, feel very honored to be called as a speaker today. Quite nervous actually, it's my first time. But I feel very honored to share this floor. My great uncle here, Pates Muck before me. I'm here learning so much today. Been able to have been mentored in the past by my cousin Salem, Sisiam. I've just returned back here after several years of post-secondary education down in the United States. And now I'm back here in my traditional territory. Just started working for Enchikai as well. But I'm so happy to be here today. this development here at Senakw, this village, has so much history to our people. And I'm so excited to see what the future holds. To be so young and to be able to be a part of this at my age. The future's so bright for our people, and it's just the beginning. Within the coming years, this place is going to develop into something this city's never seen before. I'm happy to be able to share it with all my family members and community. And right now I feel like I'm empowered to say that I'm a youth and I'm a voice for the youth of the Squamish Nation. And I'm here to tell you guys that we're so excited for the coming development and this project. So with that, thank you to the family for calling me as a speaker today. Hold my hands up to you guys. Osium. Xwumixw.
Halsalam, there you are. Swakton, elders, PM colleagues, families. I was smiling listening to the young person talk about how nervous he was because on momentous occasions like this, we are nervous. We are nervous because it's so important, because the work is important, because we want to make sure that our words acknowledge not just the history of this place, which has its sorrow and its tears and its loss, but the wonder and beauty of this place, and as the young person, the young witness said, the future of this place. So it's right to be nervous. Thank you to the organizers and the elders and the singers for your acknowledgement of the suffering of the James Cree First Nation. The community is devastated. And your songs and your prayers and your thoughts and your ceremony, I will share with them personally that it happened. And it will mean something. It will matter. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be a witness here today in a traditional territory like this one, unceded, with so much history of loss and so much history of terror, really, of the Squamish people. Theft of land and of culture and of language. And only in 2003, after a long and protracted battle, did the Squamish people see the return of a part of this traditional territory. But today, Senakw will bring people home. People will come home. I thought the words about what a home meant was so important. We're talking about net zero. This is wonderful, by the way. We're talking about one of the biggest housing developments in the history. These are all important things, but my journey before politics was with people who had no home. I remember one time in the homeless shelter that I was responsible for saying I didn't feel well and I was going to go home. And a man said to me, "Isn't that wonderful that you can go home when you're sick?" The words in English that we talk about when we're lonely often refer to home, homesick. Everybody needs home. Home is where we're safe and where we grow and where we change the generations, where we create that sense of safety so people can learn and heal. And ultimately, this project is about healing. And healing is a funny, funny business because it can feel excruciating, can't it? Excruciatingly slow. In my family, that's how it was. And then all of a sudden, it wasn't. and someone had home and education, and it changed generations, and I've seen that happen here with Squamish people and all across the country. So this is a healing project. This is about ensuring the next generations tell the story of this generation and the work that they did to heal and to build new futures and to build healthier communities. Thank you, Prime Minister, for putting us on a journey of reconciliation. It's not easy being the Prime Minister, but I will tell you this. I am profoundly certain of his commitment to this journey, and I'm so honored to be part of it. Because here's the thing, reconciliation is not just good for Indigenous people. It's good for all of us. We will do better together when we live and we play and we work together, when projects like these can come to fruition, when our children can grow up knowing they have what they need to reach their full potential. That's what I'm bearing witness today, too. The hard work of the ancestors, that excruciating journey where I bet you ancestors thought nothing will ever change. And all of a sudden, because of the generation that built their knowledge from the elders, it's changing. I will carry this with me. I will tell this story to other communities that are on this journey. And I'm just so honored that you asked me to act as a witness for this very important ceremony today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. It's an honor to be here on Squamish land. Thank you so much to the families for inviting me to be a witness today. I take that role very seriously, and it's a great honor to participate. Today, I saw the strength and the beauty and the power of the Squamish language, of the Squamish people, your traditions, your laws, and what you're building here. Today I saw the generosity of the Squamish people. I saw families returning to land that they were ripped from, not out of a sense of vengeance, but out of a sense of building, and not just for the Squamish people, not just housing for the Squamish people, but housing for the people of the whole community. I witnessed the relief of people knowing that housing that we're desperate for is going to be built, thousands of units, thousands of families that will have a safe place to live because of your efforts. I witnessed an injustice that was done to the Squamish people being turned into something beautiful for our whole province, for our whole country. I saw two nations working together to deliver this. The leader of the Government of Canada, the leaders of the Squamish Nation. I witnessed my son, and to be honest, I witnessed him being ably distracted by his cell phone. He's 7 years old. But I witnessed him being physically present at a moment that is historic for us and momentous for us, but I hope when he is older, for him, for his friends, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, that this is something that we take for granted. Nations coming together to build something that's bigger than just those two nations, to build something that is greater than just those two parts coming together, to build something that is better. very honored to have witnessed these things today. Thank you.
Once again, thanking the family for the work in mind. Recognizing our speakers, our 4 speakers, for sharing your words. Thank you, Paitsmuk. Not only a historian, alive and well with us today, and for many years forward, you're a true resemblance of Squamish peoples, and I wanted to acknowledge that. Osiam. Another term we use, nuchneoch, resemblance, having that open heart and mind, and taking advice from our old people, and carrying that forward, which is part of the spirit of today. And I'm thankful that we have heard words from our elder, our youth, and it was shared, and our honored guests. And thank you for providing the observations you witnessed today, individually and traditionally. As a speaker, I would speak to the 4 witnesses individually, but today I wanted to address you wholesomely for this event. It's truly exciting to officially break ground at Senakw. I apologize, I don't have eyes in the back of my head, but I wanted to give a round, you give me help in acknowledging our workers behind me for standing in the sun. From peak construction, somebody better give them some water. That concludes our work. I'll be handing over the mic as we prepare for the media scrum that'll take place. I thank you all for your patience. I know some of you may need to stretch. Again, a groundbreaking event, and thanking the Canadian government for the $1.4 billion contribution for the first 2 phases of the Senakw development that'll bring our communities together and provide that housing that is much needed in the housing crisis that Canada feels, but Vancouver feels, and the Squamish xwumixw feels. We are leading the way with the biggest and historic First Nation-led land development in the history of Canada. Osiam, Chinquinmin Tomiup, Yuan Hath and Squalawan.
Thank you, merci. There will now be 20 minutes for questions. Il va maintenant avoir 20 minutes pour des questions des médias. Please identify your name and outlet. S'il vous plaît, identifiez votre nom et votre média. and we'll begin with the first question.
This is regarding the situation in Saskatchewan. Do you have any concerns with the RCMP's response, given that Miles Sanderson has been unlawfully at large since May? And can we please have a response in English and French?
Right now, the work that we're doing is working all together, the federal government, the provincial government, municipal and community leaders, to try and keep everyone safe. That's why it's so important that everyone follow the instructions of the local authorities to do everything they can to keep safe. As a federal government, we're ensuring whatever resources are needed by the police of jurisdiction are received to be able to put an end to this situation and to allow people to grieve without fear, to start the healing process that will take an awfully long time, because this was an incredibly horrific and traumatic event. Évidemment, nous nous préoccupons de la sécurité des gens en priorité maintenant. Le gouvernement fédéral est en train d'envoyer les ressources nécessaires à la police locale, aux autorités, pour avoir tout ce dont ils ont besoin pour garder les gens en sécurité. On sait que c'est une situation extrêmement difficile. Les gens ont mal, les gens ont subi des pertes épouvantables. En plus, ils ont peur pour leur sécurité, pour la sécurité de leurs êtres chers. On va continuer de faire tout ce qui est nécessaire jusqu'à temps que la situation finisse.
Next question, Steve.
Steve Shear, Reuters. Good morning. I wanted to ask another question about Saskatchewan, if I could. We heard, speaking to members of the community, that the use and sale of heavy drugs might be one of the motives in the murders. I was wondering if you could speak to that. And also, you've mentioned that the federal government is going to be there for the community. And could you give us an idea what that might look like? Are you talking about aid for the families of the victims? Are you talking about more policing, perhaps counseling for drug abuse, that sort of thing?
Right now, our focus is on being there to get through this crisis. The events that have happened over the past couple of days are horrific. People are traumatized, people are hurting, people are injured, people are devastated. Being there with whatever supports are needed right now in this moment of crisis is our focus. Of course, there are going to be many conversations about next steps and how we move forward, and yes, the federal government will be there for that. Okay. Notre priorité maintenant, c'est d'être là pour les gens qui en ont besoin dans ces moments de crise, d'envoyer les ressources nécessaires pour en finir avec cette crise et pour permettre les gens de commencer à guérir, à faire leur deuil. Mais oui, évidemment, dans les jours, les semaines, les mois, les années à venir, le gouvernement fédéral va être là comme partenaire suite à ces événements.
Rachel Aiello, CTV News. You've brought your cabinet to one of the most expensive cities in the country to talk about affordability. What message do you think that sends to the large number of Canadians who are feeling the pinch every day from the rising cost of living and won't benefit from the aid programs that you often tout or housing promises that are going to take years to come to fruition?
Our focus this week as we kick off what will be a busy and important fall of parliamentary work is on the economy, is hearing from Canadians, working with Canadians to solve the very real pressures they're facing, whether it's to make sure that we're growing the economy, making sure we're creating good jobs now and into the future, or directly supporting people in the challenges they're facing around the cost of living. That is our focus. We're coming together in one of Canada's major cities to be part of putting forward solutions to make a difference for Canadians. It's going to take a lot of hard work over the coming months, but this government is there to deliver for Canadians, to make sure we have an economy that works for all Canadians.
Une réponse en français, s'il vous plaît.
Nous sommes ici à Vancouver pour préparer la session de l'automne où nos priorités vont être l'économie, bien sûr, la création de bons emplois, mais aussi d'aider les gens avec les défis au niveau du coût de la vie auxquels ils font face. Nous allons toujours être là pour aider les gens, pour créer une économie qui fonctionne pour tous les Canadiens.
Adjata Camara, Radio-Canada. À la rentrée parlementaire, vous aurez un nouvel adversaire et ce sera très probablement Pierre Poilievre. pourquoi n'êtes-vous pas déjà passé à l'offensive à son égard et pourquoi vous ne répondez pas à certaines de ces déclarations?
Ma priorité, c'est d'être là pour livrer pour les Canadiens. On est dans un moment, une ère où il y a énormément de défis et les Canadiens ont besoin d'un gouvernement qui est focusé sur eux. Et c'est exactement ce qu'on est en train de faire, que ce soit d'investir pour assurer des garderies à travers le pays, que ce soit d'investir pour assurer du logement abordable et une augmentation de l'offre du logement, que ce soit pour donner de l'aide directe aux jeunes, aux aînés, aux familles. Notre priorité, c'est de continuer à bâtir une économie qui fonctionne pour tous les Canadiens et c'est sur ça que nous allons continuer d'être axés.
Merci. Prochaine question. Next question.
M. Adagahi with Global News. Now, the large and impressive density that this project brings to this tight area of Vancouver has some concerns about the strain on the infrastructure that's going to be put now. Curious why the announcement today didn't come with any additional promise of funding for infrastructure from the federal government. Particularly, there's a streetcar as well that is part of this project that your government might hear from for funding.
I know the municipality has been working with the Squamish Nation. We are pleased to be here as partners in launching this ambitious project that will make a huge difference in the lives not just of Indigenous peoples, but of non-Indigenous people living in Vancouver as well. It's an important step to increase the housing supply and specifically to increase the need for more middle-income rental housing. That is why we put in place the Rental Construction Financing Initiative a number of years ago that has created projects like this across the country. And this one that is not just increasing supply for families throughout the region, but is also moving forward on reconciliation in a tangible, real way, while at the same time committing to be a leader in net zero building creation and housing creation. All these things come together, and it's something that the federal government is very pleased to be able to be a partner in. Nous sommes contents d'être ici pour un projet qui va répondre aux besoins de la ville de Vancouver, où on a besoin de plus de logements, surtout de plus de logements de location à des prix modestes, mais aussi pour bouger, pour avancer, pour lutter contre les changements climatiques, pour lutter pour une meilleure réconciliation. C'est toutes des choses qui viennent ensemble dans ce projet ambitieux qui va avoir un grand impact dans la communauté et dans la ville.
Next question.
Ben Milger, CTV News. The Squamish Nation had to use the federal courts to reclaim this land 20 years ago, and even then it's only a fraction of the size of the territory that was taken from them. Your Crown Indigenous Relations Minister is on the record as saying it is time to give land back. What does that mean, and when can we expect other announcements with other Indigenous nations across the country?
I think people have understood that reconciliation can take many forms and does take many forms. It's a journey that, yes, is between the federal government and Indigenous peoples, but it also includes non-Indigenous Canadians. We have been looking at projects and creating initiatives and partnerships that have had significant positive impacts from coast to coast to coast. This is an excellent example. This model will be something that automatically works in Winnipeg or in Halifax or elsewhere. Every step of the way, we put communities first and we listen to Indigenous leaders and Indigenous communities on their priorities and the solutions that they want to put forward. And on this one, it is extraordinary to have seen the vision and the leadership and, yes, the decades that have been put towards achieving this project by the Squamish Nation.
Next question.
Dan Fumano, Vancouver Sun. Prime Minister, what would you say to residents, especially those in the immediate area around here, who are worried about the size and density of this development, this number of homes in such a small area? Do you want them to, or do you believe that this will be a benefit for the overall community, more of a benefit than a harm? And should Canadians in urban centers like Vancouver come to accept that there will be more, or we should have more of these really high density kinds of developments in the cities?
I know Vancouver very, very well. I've spent a lot of time in the Lower Mainland speaking with families, young people, older people who are directly impacted by the housing crisis that has been the reality over the past many, many years. This investment, this creation of thousands upon thousands of new affordable rental units, a number of them low-income rental units, is going to make a huge difference in the lives of thousands of families who will suddenly have the stability, the opportunity, the proximity to work that will be a big step forward for Vancouver in terms of taking off some of the pressures that are around on housing. And I know that this is a good thing for the city, for the province, and for the country.
Okay. And we'll take a question from the last reporter.
Brianna Charlebois, Canadian Press. Hi, Prime Minister. Kind of going back to Saskatchewan, on multiple occasions, police, including the RCMP, across the country have been criticized for being too slow or very vague in how they communicate with the public. I'm wondering if you're comfortable with the way that the RCMP communicates with the public.
Like I said, we are very much still in crisis mode. Over the past 2 days, we've been focused on doing everything we can to keep people safe, to ensure that they're getting the supports they need for the trauma that they're experiencing, the medical assistance, obviously, for those who are injured, but the mental impact and the anguish of this is requiring all of us to stay focused on well-being for people. Our other focus is, of course, making sure the police forces of jurisdiction have all the resources necessary to put an end to the fear that people are going through until this individual is apprehended. So our focus is that there will be plenty of time for questions about what was done, what could have been done differently, what was done well. All those things I know we will be talking about for many weeks to come, but right now our focus is on being there for people who are hurting and who are scared.
Merci, Ceci met fin à la conférence de presse. That concludes the press conference.
Merci à tout le monde.